Hello everyone, I am Claudia Morales with the Music Division, and today I am in conversation with electronic artist, composer, 2023 Pulitzer Prize in Music finalist, Jerylin Patton, mostly known as Jaylin. Jaylin, welcome to the Library of Congress.
Thank you, my God. Thank you.
We made it.
Yes, we made it.
We are
yes,
here.
we are here.
Yes,
oh my God.
Yes.
Yes.
So tonight, you're here today because you are premiering your Library Commission.
Correct.
Which is the first ever full electronic music commission.
Yes.
Which was possible by the gift of the Strickland Fund at the Library of Congress.
I'm so thankful.
So please tell us, my first question is, what do you explore with this work?
I think I explore a push and pull. With the first piece, A Dance with My Favorite Opponent, is a push and pull. And without losing the fluidity of the piece. So a lot of times people know my music to be very percussive, but also in this I have string and piano. I'm within synth, but then there's this very masculine, feminine energy that harmonizes within the piece. But it has a very push and pull. Yeah, well, there's sections where the masculine leads, and then there's sections where the feminine leads. And then there's a section where they merge, they separate, they do all the things, yeah.
How do you approach the project? Do you have an idea that you wanted to work with? Do you have some textures in mind?
I never know anything until I sit in the chair. So I create from a blank canvas because for me, everything is inside of nothing. So that's why I like to create from a blank space, because I know everything I need is there. So I just have to, sit in it, embody it. And it doesn't mean that it's there just because I sat in the chair. It just means that sometimes, maybe one day that's not a day to create, but then there are times like, okay, I'm in that space. Or it may happen 5 minutes before I'm about to go to bed. And then it's like something strikes and it's like, okay, we're here. Okay, we'll start tomorrow fresh. Yeah, yes.
And I know that you broke this commission in two. So there are two pieces.
Yes.
How did that happen? How do you find the need to break it into two?
I always, usually when commissioned to write a long piece, I always like to break the pieces because I like to give almost like a duality, almost type of, or versatility of a presentation, because I am very percussive, but there are other ways that I take, being percussive goes so many infinite ways. So I always like to break a pieces, so if I have an opportunity to write something that's like 10 to 12 minutes, I'd rather break it than to just, have it in that one long piece, just to give it more, to change the setting, change the tone, change the feel, just change the vibration in its totality sometimes. I'm more of an interrupter. Yeah.
When you conceptualize the work, thinking about the performance, do you have a lighting component in mind?
No, usually visually. I'm always thinking about choreography. And so movement is really everything for me. So when I think visually, I always think about if someone were to dance a piece, and sometimes it's not even about dance. Sometimes it's the way a person moves their arm, their eyes, it just can totally, and it can be something. I've seen a video there's a woman who's just the way she's walking out of a hotel for 2 seconds, and it's just that can totally make me write an entire piece. I love movement. Yeah.
The first piece, tell me again the name.
So the first piece is A Dance with My Favorite Opponent. Yes.
When I heard it, to me, it feels very tribal.
Yeah.
Yeah? Is that right?
Yes.
Am I on the right track?
Yeah, wait, so you mean with the drums?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Vayari.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
yes,
Vayari.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. You feel very tribal to me. And as you described, when I was listening, I could picture in my mind just a group of dancers performing the piece.
So that one I was thinking more about, I think that was a reflection of, I was thinking royalty when I made that piece. Yeah, a total, royalty, but in the sense of when you know that you have become a thing, when you have meet another evolution of yourself. And so I wanted to reflect that in a song. And so I wrote Vayari, for that.
Is that reflective of you?
Of me, yeah.
In your time?
Definitely, where I am right now in my life, yes.
How so?
Well, there was the question of, I used to always get at, musically, I'm always thinking of, I have all the answers. But then the question is, what is the question? So like thinking mathematically, it's like a proof. So you have the answer, but you have to go back to what is the original question, working your way back. So for me, I never knew what the question was until now. And the question is, what are you? And the answer is, I'm a composer. So the response to that is, okay, then create. I'm a creator, create. So that's how I came to Vyari. That's what it is. It literally is it means it's the creation of a thing. When you realize in that moment, when you realize you know what you are. And then, but even in that, then there creates another evolution in that. So it's not like you just hit this phase and then it's like, okay, that's it. It's a constant evolution in that. So that's what that means, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can relate to that. I feel like you just open another door.
Right, and that's what it does. It opens,
it
just opens another door. It opens
Yeah.
a door,
Yeah.
precisely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh, I'm gonna sit with that for a minute.
Yes, I love it, yes, yes.
So we met in 2021
Yes,
online
yes,
in the middle of the pandemic.
yes.
And you had your piece, don't tell me, Perspective,
Yes.
that Third Coast Percussion performed for us digitally at that time. So what is the difference? How do you conceive a work that is performed by others, in this case, a full percussion ensemble like Third Coast Percussion, and differently when you're writing something that you are going to perform?
I don't perceive them separately at all because I know they're going to be different because for example, so in this case, Third Coast, they're them, and then Jalen, I'm me. And I want them to be different because we're two different entities. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, I don't want you to write this exactly how I wrote it. I want you to give me, please stretch it, minimalize it, do whatever you feel you want to do. Because I feel like you get the best out of people. And no disrespect, I swear, I mean none. But I feel like it's so egotistical to ask somebody to do something exactly the way that I did it, because if I did it that way, so why would I ask you to then do that? See, I don't dictate my work. So when a person does and they reinterpret or they reimagine the piece or they do it their way, to me that's everything because that's them, and that's why I call it the piece Perspective. Because that's what it is. It's like, Jalen's way can't be everything. What's your perspective on it? So, and that's how I love doing that for people.
So the moment that you sit to write, compose, you are not thinking about necessarily about the performer.
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
Interesting.
Not at all, no. That's the last thing I'm actually thinking about, because I'm thinking about, for me, the delivery of, is this impactful? Is my intention right? Is the song stitching together so that it blossoms into a space that can, where I'm doing my best at that time? And so that's what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about, how is somebody going, how if they perform and what is that going to make, me look like, or no, not even. Like, I want them to do exactly whatever they feel and stretch and draw back and merge and separate and harmonize as much as you want to. Yeah.
This piece also gave you the 2023 Pulitzer Prize in Music finalist category.
That was insane.
How did that arrive in your life?
Oh my God, I was in Amsterdam at the time doing the string quartet biennale with Kronos Quartet. And I had just landed back in Chicago. I had left from Amsterdam and I got back in Chicago, and I got a text message from one of the, I cannot think of her name. I actually think her name was Claudia as well.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
She must be so nice.
Yeah. And she sent me a text message. She was from the 19th. And she said, congratulations on, being a Pulitzer finalist. And I texted her back and I said, I think you have the wrong person, but that's so nice. Thank you. I said, maybe one day. And I texted her back. She called me immediately. She said, Jalen, go on Google and Google your name and Google Pulitzer.
Oh my goodness.
I'm outside of O'Hare Airport, by the way, waiting on my, to get picked up to get taken home. And I remember specifically, I went in Google, I did exactly what she did, what she said. And I looked down and I just sat on the ground and cried. And I had to pull myself together because I'm like, I have to call my mother, I have to call my team, you know. So I'm like, I call my mom immediately, and my mom is like, she's like, oh my God. But then she's like, at the same time, because I'm in Chicago, she's like, pull yourself together. They're gonna think something's wrong with you. And like only a mother could do that. So she's like, but she's like, she was just so proud. She was just in shock like I was. So then I immediately called Linda. I'm like, Ma, I gotta hang up. I gotta call my team. I was like, I'm calling Linda right now. So I call Linda and I'm like, Linda, look this up. Linda's on her phone and she's just like, what? And like, we're just, so everybody's trying to like regroup because this has happened so suddenly. And then, and all of a sudden, like I'm getting all of these, my phone is flooding as this is happening, flooding. And so I'm just like, what is even happening right now? Like it just didn't even seem real. And I just could not believe I was only 36 years old. This is something you wait for a lifetime. And I'm 36. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not about to die, am I? Like, so like, I'm just like, all kinds of things are going in my head. And I'm just like, you know, I'm like, I was like, Ma, and I remember I said, Ma, I'm only 36. And she was like, so what does that tell you? And I said, she said, that means you have so much greater work to do. And I just was like, you know, only your mother could tell you that. And I just was just like, Ma, I was just like, I don't even know. Like, I remember the meeting with my team after this, like, so, and we're all sitting there, me, Linda, and Elisa, and we're just like in awe, like, did this really just happen? Like, what?
And how did that move the needle for you?
Ooh, my God. To be honest, we were already doing things at such a massive scale because like with my album coming out, it was like, to say like, it's not a flex, but to say you have Philip Bjork and Kronos Quartet all on one album is, you know, it was like, wait a minute, how does that even happen? Because I would ask that question if I wasn't me. But like, I would.
That was my next question.
Yeah, like, but yeah, it moved the needle like a great deal because it was just like, everybody kind of was just like, who is this person? You can't read music. You know, you're a late bloomer and you get a Pulitzer Fund? Wait, what? Wait, it doesn't even make sense now. Like it's starting to get to the point where it doesn't make sense. And it kind of brought me back to a space where Rick Owens told me, he's like, you have to quit your job. Like, cause I was working at the steel mill at the time, and he's like, you have to quit because your life isn't making sense anymore. You can't go to work. He says, nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5. He's like, but the scale of your life, you have to acknowledge it. You can't pretend like this isn't happening because it's happening. So.
But this is 2023.
This
right?
was that was 2023. But I remember but like to go back, like this was like back in like when I had done his show.
Right.
It was just like
yeah.
He's like, your life isn't making sense anymore. You have to acknowledge that this is happening in your life. Yeah.
Wow.
So but when this happened with the Pulitzer, it was just like, I felt like I was just in alignment in that moment. Like it was just alignment. Even like this right here, like this is it's an alignment moment. Yeah, very much so.
I'm going to stick with that too.
Yeah, yes.
So before we sat down for this conversation, we had a chance to visit some of the music collection items that we have for you on the table.
Yes.
As I always ask my artists, what do you see and what are you taking with you from that experience?
Overwhelmed. Overwhelmed because everything on those tables led me to this point. Like all of that led me right here where we have sitting here having this conversation right now, because I'm not classically trained, and all I have to rely on when I'm creating is my intuition and how I feel. That's all I have to work with. So I don't know how to read music. I don't know how to, I don't know the technicalities of those things, but I know I feel music, and I know I embody music. So that's what I use to create, and that's all I have. And so I a lot of times find myself having to I'm vulnerable, which means I'm constantly vulnerable. constantly, because I am at the mercy of everybody who can read music and knows music and says study music. But at the same time, we can all get in the same room and they understand my language and I understand theirs, because that vibration in what music is brings us all together in the same space, and it strips us all down to be vulnerable, whoever I'm working with. So like looking on the table, and I look at Philip with just like with Einstein on the beach, and I'm looking at like Igor Stravinsky, who just like who taught me how to listen, because there was these YouTube videos with Igor doing rehearsals, and he's going through like 88 people. So it's just like 12 hours. All you're doing is trying to get the right tone for every instrument, and you're going from person to person. That taught me how to listen. And so, because my music is very layered, which I actually get very kind of sad about, upset, no, I'm gonna say it right, upset when people call Philip a minimalist, because Philip is the maximist when it comes to, just everything. He is a total maximist. He's not a minimalist. Like all of that layering and all of those chords and vibrations that Philip puts together when he's playing is insane. You can't, how do you call somebody like that a minimalist? Like that's not that he is a maximist. So is Igor Stravinsky. Like those are maximists. Like, and just looking at the score sheet, looking at Mr. Stravinsky's is from the first score sheet you showed me to when he had done, to that second one, the transition went from his traditional to when he started to stretch. You can see it, like I can't read music, but I know, like looking at that, I can see the stretch and the improv, the part that gets lost in notation, the parts that only you can feel. You can't teach a person that. Those are feelings. And so, like for an example, like if you put Philip's music, I'm sure Igor Stravinsky's as well. If you put it through notation, you're gonna lose half. If you put it through a program, you're gonna lose half the notes, because some things they're not written. They're only to be felt when they're played. And so it's like you have to know, and so that's where I come in at, because I'm an intuitive. I have to feel those moments. I have to feel when a rhythm changes. I have to feel when, and I got that another thing from Nina Simone as well. You have to be able to, if a rhythm changes or something is about to move, how fluid are you in adapting when that moment happens? And how can you bring it back? How can you stretch it, bend it, move it in all these infinite directions, and then bring it back to a center point? So I just feel like, those two in particular, just like they have just mastered that for me.
Some musicians, as part of their daily habits, they practice 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever a day. What do you do do you have a routine in your daily basis?
I do have a routine. Yeah, I have a routine. When you practice, you have to have a routine. I'm a very early riser, so I'm usually up somewhere between, I would say sometimes if on a great day, I'm up at 3:30. But like 3:30. Yeah, 3:30 in the morning. So I start meditating immediately. And then I have to, Bruce Lee wise, I have to empty my cup, because if it's too full, nothing will happen that day. I'm very aware. But if it's having to really be, I get it, having to really be water in the situation, which means whatever you touch, you adapt to it. So like for an example, working with Philip, who also has a routine. Philip gets up, 5 o'clock in the morning, and he practices, immediately, and so it's like, so when I asked him, like for an example, when I did the precision, and I wanted Philip in his rawest state, because I know he's at his peak in that moment, because it's just you, and it's only you and your gift, and and that piano, and and him with the piano, and that's what I wanted to capture, and so that's what I got into. I wanted a recording of that, and so that's what he did, because those moments, it's not when everybody's watching. That is the real performance is when you're by yourself and nobody's there to clap for you and give you a standing ovation. How well do you perform then? Not when everybody's in front of you, because you've practiced for that moment. Those are the practice moments. The performance is when you're by yourself. Yeah, and there's nobody clapping for you, and there's nobody. It's just you and your gift and your vulnerability and that piece of equipment or that acoustic instrument or instruments. There's when the performance is happening.
Going back to your recent album, Coma, how was the process of getting all these great artists together?
So Bjork, I've worked with her before. I did a remix for her. and she was working on this last album, and I was supposed to be on that record. And so what ended up happening was she had sent me just like a group of stems, and she's like, "Hey sis, I want you on my record, and I want you to be on this record." So I'm like, okay. I start writing for this piece, and it was my timing. The timing just wasn't there. And I remember, and most people would be like, "What? I would have found the time. It's Bjork." But Bjork's not like that. She wants you to feel a piece. And if I'm not there, what would be the purpose? I'm not gonna not give you my best. So what ended up happening was I kept what she sent me, and I said, I started Borealis, but it wasn't called Borealis at the time. And so I wrote, I had started writing, and I finished this piece, and I sent it to her, and I didn't even tell her what it was. I just sent it to her. And I said, "What do you think about this?" And she's like, "I love this. Oh my God." I said, "Great, because it's you." So she's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, this is all the compiling of everything you sent me." And I think she had only sent me like six sounds. Her flute, her singing, her vocal. And so like I took it and I did it like in the Jalen way. So I asked her later on, I said, "Sis, what would you think about?" I said, "I know I didn't make it to your record, but what if this made it to mine?" And she's like, do it. Like, yes. Like she didn't think about it. None of my collaborators, they immediately said yes. Nobody was hesitant. So like Bjork's like, absolutely, put this on your album, 100% go. So that was with Bjork. So then Kronos, they were like, I started working with them in 2019. I had done Little Black Book. They commissioned me for 50 for the Future. And
Played it here.
Yeah, yeah. And so they had commissioned me for that, and I wrote Little Black Book. And I remember asking David, so I remember for just that piece, I remember asking David, I said, "Are you sure I'm the person you want to do this?" And David's like, "Absolutely." I said, "Okay." So I do Little Black Book. I was like, okay, so they trust me, that's good. So then we do, Pomegranate, so like kind of fast forward, now I'm working with Pomegranate Arts, which is my team now, who are just amazing, who've been working with Philip and Kronos just like kind of just for collaborations just for years. They all know each other. So it's just like, okay. Philip's 85th birthday was coming up, and at the Rockefeller Center, and so like they had just imagined, put this whole show, imagined this whole show of what it could be, as of Philip's pieces, various pieces of Philip's that are reimagined, and so I'm just like, okay. And I'm nervous because at this point I haven't met Philip yet at all. So I'm like, okay. So I'm writing these pieces, and so I reimagine the Quartet Sots. I think I'm saying it right. I think I said it right. And that which is Philip's piece, but it was Kronos who redid it, and then I reimagined Kronos' version.
I see.
Right. So it was like the derivative of the derivative
right,
of the derivative.
Right.
Yes, math. See how that comes back? Right. So we do this, and like I send Kronos back the piece that I imagined, like of theirs, and of Philip's, and so like David loved it, like they loved it. So then I'm like, hey. Right before we walk on stage, I asked David, I said, "David, could I put this on my album?" And he's like, "Yeah, yes." So he's like, I'm like, "Are you for real?" He's like, "Yes." And so like immediately, just like 5 minutes before we're about to perform for Philip's 85th birthday, he's like, "Absolutely." So that was the second yes. Yeah. So it was just like, yeah. And then like Philip's story is just like the best because again, working with Pomegranate, like Linda, I remember her sitting down, her and Elisa said, "What is your dream with Acoma? What is it?" And I said, "Really? You really want to know?" I said, "I would love to get Philip on my album." And they were like, Linda's like, "Oh, that's easy." I was like, "What?" Like, what? And so she's like, "There's a couple of things." She's like, I have to work out. She said, "But don't worry." She said, that's a 90% yes right now. I was like, that's crazy. Okay. So I'm like, all right. So I'm excited. And then I know Philip gets up in the morning, like I said, he plays, and so that's the recording I wanted. So they send it back to me, and I started writing. And the first demo I had done, I hated it. It did not match me. It wasn't, I was like, I didn't feel it at all. And I remember turning it in, and I wasn't sure where I was going. And so then I got up one morning, it was one of those 3:30 a.m.s, and I totally threw out the original file. I didn't even want to see it anymore. I started from scratch, and I just started writing. And it was just like, immediately, it's like, put yourself in this space. If you and Philip were sitting together right now, what would you do? And so the piece started coming together. And just like with the opening entrance with just like the tribal drums. And it's like, okay, put you in there. And then, because Philip, I'm thinking to myself, he would tell you to do the same thing. Put you in there. If we're both doing this, put you in there. So I said, I started putting me in there. And then Philip's piano just comes in, just seamless. And so once we both were present, then I started to write the piece. And that's how Precision of Infinity came. And so it was just like, and when it was done, I remember sending it back, and Linda was like, you knocked this out the park. She said, I would have never imagined this is where this was going. And then to be able to play it back for Philip, with him sitting next to me and him hearing it face to face, and Philip grabbed my knee and it's like, play it again. He just couldn't believe, he's like, I'm so proud of you. And I just, the first time I met him, I cried like a baby. Yeah.
Looking back, how does it feel? Looking back in your life, where you are right now? And
try not to cry on camera. Yeah. It was very full circle. Because, I heard Philip back in 2004. Like I said, my junior year, I was in high school. And so when I heard him, I was just I never forgot his sound, but I knew now to go back to, that was alignment. I just didn't know that back then. And I never forgot that sound. And then Igor Stravinsky, and I love fashion. And it was so funny because I remember, I think if that's a real story, I think Igor and Coco had a thing, if I'm not mistaken. So all of these things just were coming into play in my life. The movie The Devil Wears Prada, all of these things, and I adore Anna Wintour. I love her mindset, adore her, her mind, just the way she thinks. And so all of these things were coming together in my life, and my life was moving so fast. So to get Rick Owens, Chanel, and Adidas in the same year back to back was insane. And these are my first music opportunities. This is not I built up to this moment. This is the first run. This is the go. Okay, you got the Rick Owens show. What? And so I take my mom to Paris with me, and we do all these things, and it's just I manifested, we both did, my mother and I manifested my whole career, because we used to talk about this like it had already happened. And so when we were talking about it, she's like, yeah, you're going to be in Paris. This is long before any of this. She's like, oh yeah, you're going to be in Paris. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be a composer. You're going to score for things. You're going to do these things. You're going to be working with all these people. And it really happened. And so now where it used to surprise me, it doesn't surprise me anymore, but that full circle moment, again, all I can say is alignment and manifestation. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
I can only say wow.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
From my team on down, all of that, when I look at from 2004, all of that leads me to work with Philip, that doesn't even make sense almost, but it does at the same time. It's just I didn't hear his music for no reason. And now I'm learning that every time I cross paths with something, or something grabs me, it's never for no reason. And I'll probably end up revisiting whatever that is at some point. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the time in 2021 when your music was played by Third Coast Percussion, and we met online, that happened, and then this was going to happen.
And then, because Third Coast actually introduced me to Pomegranate. That's how all of this started.
Always connected.
Everything in my life is just, the alignment of my life is insane.
I love that story, Jalen. The magic is just so real.
Yeah, it's so
Give
re-
me goosebumps.
Yeah, me too. Like me too. And like the fact that we're sitting here and I get to like share this. Like I'm just, being a black girl from Gary, like a small town, industrial town, and then to all of these things. And like I'm still fairly, young. Like I'm not even I'll be 38 this year, and it's like, but I feel like I've done a lifetime achievement worth of things.
But
yeah, like I feel like I have, like, and I'm so grateful to everybody in my life, my mother, my father, my team, they mother me like I'm their kid, like no matter what. I don't care like how in distress I am, if I feel like I can't do it, if I'm scared, like my team, especially like just Linda and Elisa, they are just, and Rachel, just all of them, like they are right there. But just especially like really Linda, because Linda just watches me like I am her kid. Like I feel like I'm her third child. Like I swear.
that's a blessing.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
So tonight, what is the audience? What should they expect tonight?
I never dictate to my audience. I never dictate. I don't. I will say this though, if anybody, if they know me, they can expect me to be me. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And with that, we're going to say goodbye and see you next time.
Bye.